Every year, millions of people make the same promise to themselves. This year will be different. They buy the planner, they write the goals, they feel the excitement of a fresh start. And then February arrives. The planner is collecting dust, the goals are forgotten, and life looks exactly the same as it did before. Not because those people are lazy, not because they lack talent, but because they changed their plans without ever changing themselves. And a new plan in the hands of the same person always produces the same result. The person you are today was built by decisions made years ago, and the person you'll be in 2026 is being built right now, in the habits you're keeping and the ones you keep putting off. Real financial change doesn't start with a raise or a better job. It starts with a shift in who you are on the inside. I've watched people win the lottery and lose everything within 2 years because the money revealed exactly who they hadn't become yet. Money doesn't fix broken thinking, it just gives broken thinking more resources to work with. The moment you stop blaming the economy, your boss, or your circumstances, you reclaim the most powerful force in your life, your own responsibility. That shift alone is worth more than any paycheck you've ever received. I spent years studying people who built real, lasting wealth, and the pattern was always the same. They worked harder on themselves than they did on their jobs. Not harder in the sense of grinding without direction, but harder in the sense of reading, reflecting, making better decisions every single day. A man who reads one good book a month, something like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill or The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, will think completely differently in 5 years than someone who never picked up a book. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between a life you design and a life that just happens to you. Personal development isn't a luxury. It's the engine. The world doesn't respond to what you need. It responds to what you've become. And becoming something better starts with one honest question. Who are you when nobody's watching, when things aren't going your way, when the pressure is high? Your character in those moments is the real measure of your growth. Everything you want in life is on the other side of becoming the kind of person who deserves it. The biggest mistake most people make is spending their entire life chasing a number, a salary, a title, a bank account balance, as if that number is the point. I've met millionaires who were completely empty inside, and people earning modest wages who had more peace, more purpose, and more joy than anyone I'd ever seen in a boardroom. The salary was never the prize. The transformation was. When you work primarily for money, you put a ceiling on your own potential, because the moment the money stops, so does your motivation. But when you work to become more, there is no ceiling. Think about someone like Warren Buffett. The man still works, still reads 5 hours a day, still shows up with the same curiosity he had at 20 years old. Do you think he needs more money? Of course not. He kept growing because the growth itself became the reward. You can adopt that same mindset starting today. Ask yourself not, what do I get from this job, but who am I becoming through this experience? That one mental shift changes what you notice, what you tolerate, and what you pursue. It's a quiet revolution that happens entirely inside you. Every skill you build, every book you finish, every hard conversation you navigate with grace, those are deposits into an account that can never be taxed and never be taken. The results, the money, the opportunities, they come naturally as a consequence of who you're becoming. And the most beautiful part is that nobody can take your growth from you. You carry it everywhere you go, into every room you walk into, every relationship you build. Chasing success is one of the most exhausting and least effective strategies a person can adopt. I know that sounds counterintuitive in a culture that glorifies hustle at all costs, but think about the people you admire most, the ones who seem to attract opportunities, relationships, and results almost effortlessly. They're not running faster than everyone else. They're simply more valuable. They've become more disciplined, more knowledgeable, more reliable, and more consistent, and success gravitates toward that kind of person like a magnet. Look at how someone like Oprah Winfrey built her career. She didn't chase fame. She built extraordinary skill, emotional intelligence, and relentless commitment to her craft. The fame found her. The same principle applies to anyone in any field. If you're in sales and you become the most knowledgeable, most empathetic, most prepared person in the room, clients will seek you out. If you're an entrepreneur and you build genuine value into your product, customers will come without expensive advertising. People attract what they reflect, and that's not a metaphor, it's a law. The decision to become more is a decision to make your life easier in the long run. Every investment you make in your skills, your mindset, your health, and your character pays compounding dividends. Start with small daily commitments. Wake up 30 minutes earlier to read. Replace 1 hour of passive entertainment with something that sharpens your mind. Have one honest conversation per week that you've been avoiding. Disciplined practice daily builds the kind of person that success simply cannot ignore. Earl Shoaff told me something that rearranged my entire worldview, and I've passed it on to every person I've ever mentored. Don't wish for things to be easier. Wish for yourself to be better. That one sentence dismantled every excuse I had ever made. I had been waiting for the economy to improve, for the right moment, for someone to give me a chance. And all along, the variable that needed to change was standing right in front of a mirror. When I started changing my habits, my income changed. When I changed my thinking, my relationships changed. When I changed my attitude, my health changed. The external world is largely a reflection of the internal one. This isn't spiritual wishful thinking, it's observable reality. When a person develops better financial habits, like tracking expenses, investing consistently in index funds like those offered through Vanguard or Fidelity, and eliminating impulse spending, their financial life improves. Not because the economy changed, but because they changed. When a person develops better social habits, genuinely listening, showing appreciation, following through on commitments, their relationships improve. The territory shifts because the traveler changed. That's the most liberating truth available to any human being. You don't need a different city, a different spouse, or a different job to start having a different life. You need a different version of yourself, and that version is built through decisions. Small, daily, unsexy decisions that most people skip because the payoff isn't immediate. Start with one decision today, one habit you've been avoiding, one responsibility you've been offloading onto circumstances. That one step, repeated consistently, rewires who you are from the inside out. Life moves in seasons, and the sooner you make peace with that, the more clearly you'll be able to navigate each one. There will be winters, periods of loss, uncertainty, scarcity, and confusion, and no amount of positive thinking or strategic planning will prevent them from arriving. I've had my winters, and so has every person I've ever admired. What separated those who came out stronger from those who fell apart wasn't luck or talent. It was their relationship with difficulty. They understood that winter is not a mistake in the system. It's a necessary part of the cycle. The ancient Stoics understood this better than most modern success gurus do. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations during war, plague, and political pressure, not from a comfortable retreat. He was documenting how to hold yourself together when the world around you is falling apart. That kind of wisdom only comes from having been through seasons that felt unbearable. The spring that follows a long winter isn't a coincidence. It's the reward for having stayed rooted when everything above ground looked dead. Nature doesn't apologize for its cycles, and neither should you. Understanding the seasons means you stop being surprised by difficulty and start being prepared for it. When things are going well, you save, you build reserves, you strengthen your relationships, you sharpen your skills, because you know winter is coming, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. The person who prepares for winter during summer is not pessimistic. They are profoundly mature. And that maturity is what makes the difference between being crushed by life's cycles and being shaped by them. The hardest winters I lived through taught me more than any seminar, any book, or any mentor ever could. There's a kind of knowledge that only adversity can deliver, the kind that lives in your bones, not just in your head. When things are comfortable, people tend to coast. They repeat the same patterns, avoid the hard questions, and postpone the growth they know they need. But when the winter hits, when the business fails, when the relationship breaks, when the diagnosis comes, the noise stops, and suddenly you're face to face with exactly who you are and what you're made of. I want you to think about the most difficult period of your life so far. The thing that felt like it was going to bury you. Now think about who you became on the other side of it. I'll bet that period forged something in you that nothing else could have. Resilience isn't built in comfort, it's built in resistance. The same principle that makes a muscle grow, tension, stress, recovery, is what makes a person grow. Winters are the resistance training of the soul, and the ones who lean into that process come out with a strength that's genuinely unshakable. Use your winters intentionally. If you're in a difficult season right now, financially, professionally, personally, treat it as a graduate program you didn't sign up for but desperately needed. Read more. Study the people who've been through what you're going through. Learn a new skill. Build a habit of journaling to process what you're experiencing. Books like Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning or Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way are exactly the kind of companions you want during a winter season. The lesson is always there. The question is whether you're paying attention. After every winter, spring arrives, and with it come opportunities that simply weren't available before. New markets open, relationships shift, momentum returns, clarity appears. But here's what most people miss. Spring doesn't come with a guarantee. It comes with a window, and that window doesn't stay open forever. The farmer who sleeps through planting season doesn't get a mulligan. Summer arrives whether he's ready or not, and an unplanted field in summer is just a field full of weeds. I've seen people wait their entire lives for the right opportunity, and then when it finally showed up, hesitate just long enough to watch it walk out the door. The hesitation usually comes from fear dressed up as preparation. I'm not quite ready yet. Let me research it a little more. I'll start next month. But spring has its own timeline, and it doesn't negotiate. The people who consistently capitalize on opportunity aren't necessarily more talented. They're simply faster to commit and more willing to move with incomplete information. Speed of execution, combined with commitment to learning as you go, is one of the most underrated success skills alive. When opportunity shows up in your life, in the form of a new job offer, a business idea with real traction, a meaningful relationship, a chance to invest early in something promising, act with urgency and clarity. Don't confuse thoughtfulness with paralysis. Make the best decision you can with the information available, commit fully, and adjust as you go. The people who built extraordinary lives didn't wait for perfect conditions. They planted in the imperfect spring they had, and that was enough. Once you've planted, the work doesn't stop. It changes. Summer is the season of maintenance, vigilance, and protection. This is where most people lose what they worked so hard to build, not through catastrophic failure, but through gradual neglect. The small habits start slipping. The discipline that was sharp in the beginning softens. Distractions multiply. Complacency sets in quietly, the way rust does. You don't notice it until the damage is already done. Protecting what you've built requires just as much intentionality as building it in the first place. The enemies of summer aren't dramatic. They're subtle. A few weeks of skipping your morning routine. A few months of not reading. A season of spending more than you're saving. A pattern of avoiding the hard conversations that keep relationships honest. These things don't feel dangerous in the moment. They feel like reasonable exceptions. But exceptions become habits, and habits become character, and character becomes destiny. The discipline you guard in the good times is what determines how much you have left to work with when the hard times return. Build protection systems into your daily life. Schedule your non-negotiables, your exercise, your reading, your financial review, like appointments you can't cancel. Surround yourself with people who hold you to your highest standards, not your lowest excuses. Audit your environment regularly, what you're watching, who you're spending time with, what conversations you're having. The goal of summer isn't just to enjoy the sunshine, it's to become the kind of person who doesn't squander it. At harvest time, the field gives back exactly what was planted, no more, no less. There's a brutal honesty to that law that most people spend their lives trying to argue with. They complain about the harvest while ignoring what they planted or didn't plant, or let die through neglect. I've done it myself. It's one of the most natural and most destructive human tendencies to look outward for the explanation of results that have an entirely inward cause. The moment you stop complaining about your harvest and start taking full ownership of your planting, something fundamental shifts in your relationship with life. Responsibility is not a burden. It's a superpower. When you accept that your income is a result of your skills and your value in the marketplace, you can do something about it. When you accept that your relationships reflect how you show up in them, you can improve them. When you accept that your health is largely a product of your daily choices, you can change those choices. Blame is a wall that blocks the door to growth. Responsibility tears that wall down. And every time you take ownership of something that went wrong, even when external factors genuinely played a role, you strengthen the muscle of accountability that sustains all long-term success. Mature people understand that life is not fair, and they're okay with that. They don't expect the harvest to exceed the planting, and they don't resent others whose harvests are larger. Instead, they study what those people planted, how they tended their fields, and how they protected their crops. And they apply those lessons with patience and commitment. Prosperity that lasts isn't built on shortcuts or luck. It's built on the quiet, daily practice of becoming someone who deserves it and maintains it with integrity. Everything you just heard comes down to one truth. Your life is not waiting for better circumstances. It's waiting for a better version of you. The seasons will keep changing, the opportunities will keep coming and going, and time will keep moving at the same speed for everyone. The only variable you actually control is who you're becoming inside all of that. And that work starts today, not Monday. Go to the comments right now and write down one habit you want to put into practice starting today. Just writing it down makes it real. And it might be exactly what someone else reading the comments needs to see to take their first step too. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next.